Hi, I'm Dave Karger at the IMDb studio at the Toronto International Film Festival, and now I'm joined by the star and director of the beautiful film, The Sky is Pink, Shonali Bose and Priyanka Chopra Jonas. Great to see you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Priyanka, this is something of a return to the Bollywood side of things after a few years. Were you happy to get back into that community with this film?
I actually never really wanted to make a choice. I don't feel like they're mutually exclusive. Like, I don't think I have to do one for the other. But television, that's what took my time. Being on Quantico, I was filming about 11 months a year.
Wow.
So there's no time to do a movie. I still slipped in, like, Isn't It Romantic in my hiatus because it was a part that I could manage. But to do a film like this, you need time to prep. You need time to get into it. So I couldn't do a movie, and especially a Hindi movie. I was really looking for an immersive experience as an actor in any kind of movie, whether it was in America or in India. And when this came along, it struck on so many levels for me, checked so many boxes that I just knew it had to be done.
Shonali, your film tells the story of a very inspirational young woman named Aisha Chaudhry. She became a public speaker and author before passing away at age 18 of pulmonary fibrosis. What's fascinating to me about your film is that tonally, it's so fascinating. It really veers between heartbreaking tragedy and irreverent humor. Were you taking a cue from Aisha's personality when you came up with that tone?
So I had never met Aisha. She actually died. She watched the trailer of my previous film, Margarita with a Straw, and that's what led to this journey of me making the film. But I feel I really connected with her in reading her epiphanies and just sort of hearing about her from her mother, Aditi. So I heard the whole narration about their lives and about Aisha from her, and that made me feel like she would love this, especially making fun of her parents. Like, I really felt that,
Yes.
you know. So I did
And she
feel
really
that.
used to call her mom Moose and her father like Panda.
Panda.
Yeah.
It's so
and
great.
her brother
So
Giraffe.
you can tell that that's a sense of humor that she
But I
already
really actually don't feel the film is about her. Like, that was my decision. So even though she was inspirational and she did write a book and she was amazing, I actually also felt that she wouldn't want to be put on a pedestal. Like, it would be the typical choice, you know, the heroic teenager who's facing death courageously and is inspiring. And I wanted to tell the story of this messy marriage of a couple who fell in love at 16, and then here they are at 53, where they're not speaking to each other because they've lost a child and they're grieving in different ways. So what happens? And so it's about her telling her parents' love story. That's what I wanted to do.
Very much so.
So clever.
Where would you say this ranks, Priyanka, on the list of most challenging roles you've ever taken on?
It'll be a top 10. Definitely, just because I've done about 60 movies.
Right.
not, not because I'm trying to be cool. It was especially challenging because we both have lost. I mean, I think everybody's obviously lost someone that's close to them, but we both. She lost her son when he was 16. I lost my dad, and I went right back into work right after I lost my dad. I was really, really close to my father. Like, we were twins, and I went right back into work 4 days after. I didn't think about it. I kind of like didn't deal with it, and she, on the contrary, dealt with her son's grief and acceptance, did grief work, counseling, like did the whole thing, and came to a place where she could handle it. And I think she became my conduit for me to sort of deal with my dad's death through this movie. Playing this character, feeling the turmoil of what happens to the caregiver, to the person who is taking care of someone who's ill, especially if they're a loved one. What happens to a relationship, what happens to families. And just having to think about all of those things within the scenes that Shonali wrote was just cathartic on another level. And it just, like, there were times where I couldn't stop feeling the things that I felt in the scene. And that's kind of scary when that happens, because I've been an actor for long enough to know that I'm acting.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be real, but there were times it just was too real.
And Shonali, I was so sad to hear about the passing of your son at age 16, almost 10 years ago now. Did this whole process, the writing of it, the filming of it, talking about it, did it help you along in your healing process?
You know, I actually healed way before I started writing this film. And
telling you,
but
she
my
dealt with
journey
it.
with death
She taught
started
me.
though when I was 21. Because when I lost my mother, just like Priyanka was unable to deal with her father's death, I could not deal with her death. It was really impossible. And when he died, I was like, oh my God, I can't go through this again. It happened 25 years later. I said, I can't go through the rest of my life now with this nagging numbness and pain which you suppress and it's inside you, but you carry on courageously and everyone thinks you're fine, but actually you're not inside. So I was like, what can I do opposite? And the opposite thing was actually to embrace the pain. And if you embrace pain and face it, you transcend it. So before I started writing the script, I had transcended the pain. I was very at ease in talking about death and talking about his death and talking about him. And I'm actually thrilled that the world premiere of this film is on his death day. And for me, death days are as beautiful as birthdays. And the world premiere of this film is on September 13th, his 9th death day. And that makes me happy.
Crazy.
Like,
That's
that's
like
a
some
happy
weird
thing for me.
Destiny.
It's a gift from him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you didn't ask for that date. That's a coincidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a coincidence.
And on his birthday...
Cameron Bailey gave us
What
that
a-
date, and it
on-
just so happened.
And on his birthday, I woke up to a text from my producer saying, Priyanka loves your script and wants you to fly to New York. So right then I knew that he was blessing this film and was with us.
Priyanka, your character in the film, we see her as a teenager all the way through her early 50s, and it's you the whole way through. It's not like there's another actress playing her and then you later. Did you have to do many different ages on the same shooting day sometimes?
Yeah, and I hated her for it. It's so frustrating when that happens. But you know, we were making a big movie on a budget, which was like we knew how much, and I, being a producer, I kind of had to lump it a little bit sometimes and being like, all right, we could do this. I understand we're on this location, they've aged, whatever. But it's like really annoying as an actor to be able to go from that to that. But I think spanning almost 25 years in this movie was such a wonderful experience. I've done it in the past, but in this movie it was really different. And I'll try and articulate why. Usually in cinema, at least that I've been in or I've seen, I tend to notice that when women age, they somehow are depicted, you know, they put on weight, they're, you know, they're showed as older, whereas with men, it's like they have character and they become like hotter and like, so it's like, and that's the subliminal unconscious bias that society has put into us as women as well. So we sort of think that, oh, this is the natural progression of our lives. And when we were discussing Aditi's aging in this movie, I told Shonali, I was like, all right, so around 45 maybe, you know, I should start wearing loose clothes and, you know, I should put on weight and
have aging makeup.
and have aging makeup. We should do like, this is like really less, we should do more. And she got so mad at me. She was like, what do you mean? I'm not going to say her age.
54. I love
All right.
my age. I'm 54.
I just said it because I didn't know it.
Let's not get started about knowing people's ages.
Listen, 2 weeks doesn't count. But Shonali like was like, no, I hate that about that happens in movies and that women are depicted the way they are. I'm 54 and I do yoga every day. I get like facials. I feel great. I look great. I want to wear the best clothes, and why shouldn't a girl not? And I was like kicking myself because my mother is exactly the same person, by the way. Like, I have female examples like that in my life, but yet conditioning somehow made me even question my own instinct and surroundings. And I just checked myself and I was like, oh my God. So Aditi's character ages like the real Aditi herself, like always feeling great about herself, dressing up, you know, putting her best foot forward because she can.
She's super fabulous in the later scenes, the later age scenes,
Like her
right?
hair's
The hair is
short,
great.
she's great.
Yeah.
And that was also the real Aditi's attitude, that when, you know, when life sucks, like, you know, you put on makeup and look like $1 million, and that's how you deal with life.
It's great.
That's good. A couple last things. Maybe the sequence that impressed me the most in your performance was a sequence where Aditi goes through essentially a psychotic breakdown. And, you know, there's a lot of ways to play that, but you played it in a kind of an understated way that felt very authentic. Was that like a shooting date that you had circled on your calendar, like I gotta bring the A game on this day?
Yeah, actually. We talked about that so much because that really happened. And the way Nirain, her husband, describes it was she started speaking in a little child's voice and she started like, she became Aisha. and she like was in the hospital for 7 days, and we talked about how to play that and how to channel that without it being funny when we didn't intend it to be funny, because it's a very thin line. So it was a tough day. We tried it, we talked about it, and then we just went in and we said, all right, let's just do one the way Nirin described it, what she was like, and Farhan, me, and Shonali, all three of us were game. We did only about two, three takes of this, and I think this was one of the first ones.
I have reason to believe that one or both of you may be members of IMDb Pro. If so,
I am.
what's the last thing that you've looked up?
Why do I have to answer this? What have you looked up?
No.
I can't say what I've looked up. I look up a lot of people that I don't remember.
Well, if you see them on the screen, you're like,
No,
who's
if
that?
I'm in a party and I'll be like, oh, hey, what's up? It's so great to see you again. And then I'm like, IMDb. And then I can make the proper conversation. So I can't say who.
Right.
When it happened.
Right. Otherwise, it would give it away. I understand.
It happened recently.